friends, how are you? I'm Michelle, and this is my channel, Penny's Daughter Shares, where I talk primarily about cross-stitch and usually sprinkle in a little sewing / quilting here and there will be just a smidge of that today. If you're new here, welcome. Thanks for stopping by. If you like what you see, please like and subscribe, and you can also hit the bell to be notified when I post new videos. And if you're coming back or have been around for a while, thank you so much for returning. I appreciate all of your time that you share with me, and I appreciate all the comments that I get from everybody. So thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm going to start with a quick life update in saying, woohoo! I made it through the last week of school. We're into summer break. Last week, there were a few touch and go moments. It was especially difficult this year because Vivian finished 5th grade. In our district, that means that the elementary school years are now finished and we're moving to middle school. Not just for Vivian, but our entire family. So it is an end of an era for us in elementary school. And I usually am high-strung during the end of the school year. And this year, Jeff decided that we should add a little bit more to the chaos and go on a work trip, which involved some fun for him too, because he got to golf on one of his bucket list golf courses, which is really awesome. I just wish the timing had been a little bit better. I survived. I guess I should make a post on Facebook or something that I survived the week. So everything went totally fine. There was, let's see, one, I'm going to call it a hiccup of, this ongoing construction with the house. And they were going to do the stone for the fireplace that we have installed in the basement. And when they laid out the stone, the color wasn't quite what I had in mind. We discussed that. The stonemasons that were working on it helped me come up with a solution because they had some extra left over from another job in their truck that worked perfectly. And the fireplace is really awesome. So it all worked out. At the moment when it was happening, not so fun because Jeff wasn't here and I couldn't. He does sort of I pick out how things look. He tends to take care of the contractors and all of the whatever. I pick things out and then he runs with it. So I had to take on part of his construction management. But I survived. And now we're into summer break and I have fun to talk about. I'll wait and talk about that at the end with my plans. So, because it's stitchy related. With that gives you a quick update, celebration for being into summer. For any of you that have already been in summer and you're relaxing, great for you. Anyone who is still working to get through the end, keep going. You don't have much longer. I know that. So let's get there. Okay, so that wraps up the life update. Let's move into some very exciting, very big to me FFOs that I want to share with you. I am squeezing this video in between needing to pack and we had construction going on today and noise in the background that I didn't want to have in the background of my video. So I'm kind of squeezing it in. Have a little less time than normal. And I also plan on not quite as much time spent on editing. So the video is going to be a little different of a feel, I think, today. Maybe you won't even notice it. I don't know. But just wanted to let you know my timing is a little bit different this time. It'll be less leisurely, but maybe you won't notice and just I will because I'm the one filming and editing. So on to these awesome FFOs that I have to share. Just as a reminder, Jen of Two Tall Stitchers, and she is jenquilter on Instagram. Her and I got together at the beginning of the year and started the FFO Challenge 2023. We assigned a hashtag to it over on Instagram. We have lots and lots and lots of shares on it. And her and I have been able to accomplish so much more with FFOs and getting them out of our piles that it's just been a fantastic thing. So with the FFO Challenge, I like to share that kind of progress that I'm making, and I have two really big ones this time. Big to me, maybe not so much in size, but they've been lingering, but I'm not sure why. Well, I guess I do, and we'll talk about that. Okay, so up first in the FFOs is What Remains from Blackbird Designs. And just as a reminder, I decided to stitch this along with some other friends on Instagram who were also stitching it in honor of our moms. Unfortunately, we all belong to a club we don't like belonging to, and that is that we no longer have our moms with us. So if I remember, I'll put the hashtag here. It was A Mother's Love SAL. That was the hashtag that we used, and people did some other projects too, but back to me. Like I said, limited time, so I need to keep focused. I stitched this in honor of my mom and finished stitching it last year, right? I don't even know now. Did I? Let's say I did. Let's say I had the stitching finished for when I wanted it to be finished. December 28th of last year was the 25th anniversary of my mom's passing, and I wanted to have this stitched and framed and hung by that date. Obviously, that didn't happen. But that's another reason why this sort of fit that timing for me. And here is my awesome FFO, and I'm not sure if I'm going to keep the glass in here. It is non-glare. I don't know if it's technically museum glass, and I'm not terribly thrilled with how it looks. So we'll see. And as I show this to you, I'll be able to show you how I could easily take the glass back out of it without a problem. So it looks like I am getting a fair amount of reflection, and I apologize for that. And I will try to tip it. No matter what I do, you get it. So let's go over how I stitched this. It is stitched on 36 count. Sorry, let me grab my notes so that I can read them. It's been a while since I talked about this one in particular. 36 count wheat is the color of the linen, and the dyer was Fiber on a Whim. So 36 count for me, that means it is stitched 1 floss thread over 2 linen threads. And I used all the called for floss colors as charted. Let's see. Okay, I guess that that tells you the stitchy details. I feel very out of practice for some reason. Okay, the main thing but on the chart, what I added, I didn't really change the chart, but I added my mom's initials and her birth year and the year of her passing on my stitch, and all of that is stitched over one linen thread. So I did do cross stitches for her initials and more of like back stitching for the years that I put on there. Obviously I framed it. I framed it myself. I laced my piece onto a piece of sticky board. I can't think of what it's called. That I put a piece of batting on that I adhered to, and then I laced my stitch onto that. Put it in here. Now, why this sat for a while without me getting it done or getting it fully finished. I intended to use the glass and did not get spacers to put between the glass and the stitch. And then when I decided I needed to get those, I had a hard time finding them. So that's why this one sat. And now that I have it done, I might take the glass back out. We'll see. The frame I custom ordered from Signed and Numbered on Etsy, and I will put a link to their shop in the description box below if you'd like to go check them out. I'm going to say most of their frames are pretty rustic in feel, which is great for me. And so this one in particular I chose because of the round beaded trim on it. And I felt that it looked like very similar to pennies. I also tried to get the color to be fairly close to that of a penny. I'm going to say in real life, it looks a little less gold and a little more close to the color of a penny. But it still looks really, it is pretty close in the video here. So that is what remains from Blackbird Designs, and it is done in honor of my mama. And I think you can see the picture there in the background. That is her and I when I graduated from college. And actually, I think that might be the last picture I have of her and I together. So I have it around in a couple of places. So that is my first really, really big full finish to share with you today. All right, the second really big FFO that I have to share is actually fairly large in size even. So I'm going to start with a chart picture, which is a print off because I have the PDF of this chart. It is Florigraphica from Jan Hicks Creates. And I remember seeing this when it first came out and I fell in love, and every single stitch of this was an absolute joy, and I love it. Every time I pulled it out, I loved it. I continued to love it as I finished it, and I really love it now that it's finished. I mean, framed, fully finished. So that is the chart picture. And without further ado, let me show you the framed thing. Isn't it awesome? Oh, see, now seeing this, there's no glass on it. And I know this is controversial to some other people in the stitching world, but I'm pretty sure the glass is coming out of what remains after seeing this on video without the glass. You can just see it so much more. And I'm going to enjoy my pieces. And if I only get to enjoy them for 20 years as opposed to 50, because I don't have glass, then that's how it's going to be, I think. All right, let's talk about the details of this beauty. So I stitched this on 32 count natural Belfast linen. I'm pretty sure it was a Zweigart base, although I didn't keep perfect track of those kinds of things earlier on, so I don't know for 100% sure that it's Zweigart. Since it's 32 count, that means I stitched it 2 floss threads over 2 linen threads. And I used all the called for flosses except for, okay, I just want to make sure that I was remembering this correctly. You can see lavender petals here and some lavender in these flowers here, here, and here and here. And what, a couple other spots? Yep, some centers of the flowers there. That lavender was called for Classic Colorworks Bunny Honey, and it was too light and too close in tone to my fabric color. So what I did was I found the DMC equivalent to Bunny Honey, and then I went like 1 shade darker, which was right next to it. So what I stitched each of those lavender sections in, I'm just making sure that I'm saying this right. Yep. Okay. I used 1 strand of the Bunny Honey and 1 strand of DMC. Let me make sure I get the number correctly. DMC 451. So it's 1 strand of each in order to make sure that those stitches would show on my fabric. That was the only change I made. Obviously, and this was not the called for fabric, or the model stitched fabric. I don't know, is it technically called for fabric? I'm not sure about that. If you have an opinion or you know the answer to that, please share, because I talk about that often, that it's not the called for fabric, or it's not what the model was stitched on anyway. And just, if I can brag for just a minute, Jan liked my stitch so much that she asked me if she could have a picture of it and that she could share it or include it in her Etsy shop listing of this beautiful chart. So it is there. So I think that's so cool. So thank you, Jan. Thank you. Well, thanks first for such an awesome chart that was such a joy to stitch. And thank you for appreciating the work I did on it. So that's how I stitched it. Framing. This frame also is a custom frame from Signed and Numbered. Again, I made a note for myself, so I'll remember to do it. There'll be a link in the description box below to their Etsy shop if you'd like to go check them out. I think this particular frame it's called like a barnwood frame or something, and then it has this extra edge piece, and I chose this color, which I think matches perfectly, and I love green, so that's what I chose for this frame. Now, this frame did come with glass, and I made the decision to leave it out on this one. I don't know why, but if I change my mind, it's stuck in the back here. Here's how the back looks. If you've never seen these frames before. So they come with this board so that everything is all closed up and contained within here. So I could save that piece if I ever decide to swap it around and put it in there. I don't think I will, because I like it way too much the way it looks. I just feel like you can really see the texture. This one, the framing, I did the same way that I did What Remains, which means I laced it on the back. This one was a bear to lace. I thought maybe about a half a day to get this put together, and I spent almost a whole day doing it. And I think part of that is I think I laced it a little tighter than it needed to be in terms of the spacing between each, thread that I ran back and forth as my zigzag. But that's okay because when I got done with it, it is just so outstanding. I don't know if you can see that, but it just, I love this one so much. Now that it's framed, and the reason why this one waited so long, same thing. I had the glass, thought I needed the spacers for it, waited for those, finally got them, and then decided not to put the glass in. Sorry about that noise. And I didn't need to wait for that. So this is my Florigraphica. Oh, and I can't wait to hang it up now and look at it all the time. So this is a big, big celebratory one. Let's see. Oh, and for stats for the year, this is what remains was number 40. This is number 41 full finishes for me this year so far, which is kind of blowing my goal out of the water. My goal was 24 to 30-ish, depending on which one of my lists you looked at. So I'd say the FFO Challenge 2023 is doing me some good. So let's see, did I tell you all the details? I think I did. I'm so in love with this. And even though it took me a really long time to actually do the actual framing, I'm just still so pleased. The other thing too, those straight borders, it's tricky to get those really, really straight when you're framing, but I think I did a pretty good job. So that is Florigraphica by Jan Hicks Create. I have just 2 whips to share with you today. After my Stitch Mania and all of that organized, planned out what I'm stitching and new starts, and every 3 days I changed my projects, I've felt, and the word I'm going to use is aimless, because I didn't have a specific schedule. So I feel like I haven't done a lot of stitching, although I've had it out a lot of days. And the other reason too, and I'll show you that particular whip, well, I chose a project that I thought I would be able to work on a lot to help with my stress level of the last week of school. And I just couldn't find good blocks of time. I did do some stitching, but I just didn't find the long blocks of time that I was looking for. Anyway, all of that to say, let's talk about my 2 whips. Up first is out of this vintage magazine, which is Cross Stitch and Country Crafts, and it is July/August of 1992. And here is a picture of what I'm stitching. It's called Bouquet of Sunshine. And I'll have put down here the hashtag that I have started on Instagram. It is Bouquet of Sunshine, SAL. And I am saying that SAL stands for Share Along, because I've heard from so many people who either have already stitched it and have had it fully finished for a long, long time. So I'd like you to share those with us, please. And we have had one up there on Instagram that was awesome. Let's see, I have heard from multiple people that it was a whip that they put away, and maybe they started it years and years and years ago. Maybe they started it not so long ago, but it's just been, in the whip pile and hasn't been pulled out, and they're going to pull it back out. So let's share it along. And then there's people who have had the chart a long time, but they really would like to stitch it, so they're pulling it out and kitting it up and getting started. Again, share along. And then there's others who maybe saw it a long time ago or just seeing it the first time now, and they're going out there and they're finding the chart and wanting to stitch it. So that hashtag counts for everything. It is not an organized stitching progress thing. We're just all sharing this lovely vintage chart that a lot of us are enjoying. And that reminds me, I've had a few questions about being able to find the chart or finding the old magazines. I purchased mine on eBay. I don't even remember exactly how long ago, maybe a year, maybe a little longer. I've heard from multiple people that they were able to find it also on eBay, and it's not unreasonably priced. And I'm trying to remember, I've also heard from someone that they found it on Etsy, but it was quite expensive. I would say look a little bit more if you are feeling like you're having trouble. The last I knew, there were still copies of this magazine fairly readily available on eBay. And that was one other thing. So this is a Better Homes and Gardens, right? Yes. Better Homes and Gardens cross stitch magazine. And there is a hardcover book. I have no idea what year it was put out. I cannot remember the title, but I've had a couple people tell me that this chart is in that book. And I think a picture of it is one of the projects shown on the cover of the book. So if you wanted to, let's see, the title is something like 101 Best Loved Designs or something like that. So if you Google it, you'll find it, I'm sure. Okay, so I think that catches you up on the Bouquet of Sunshine, SAL, the share along, and here is my current progress. Now I put this away, this was my last Mania stitch, and it was a new start for me. I kept it out a few more days beyond that because I was working on finishing this border. So the outer border is complete, and I did the zigzaggy part first and then went back in and filled in all the little, I'll call them diamonds, or they're actually squares on point. But when I did this, and I never put the border in first, and it matched, yay. I mean, I was double checking myself multiple times, going and making sure that things were gonna line up, and it kept lining up. So it worked out really well. All right, let me tell you my details. I am using the called for DMC colors, and there's quite a few of them, over 20. And I am stitching mine on Picture This Plus 28 count Ale, A-L-E, Lugana. That means that I'm using 2 floss threads over 2 linen threads for this one. And the main reason I did that, even though 40 count is my very favorite, and something like this I normally would pick up and do on 40 count, but I wanted it to be a little bigger in size when I got done. That's why I decided on this. Plus I had this piece of Ale Lugana in my fabric library, and I think it's going to be an almost perfect choice for my taste on this project. So that's where I'm at. I haven't had this out since I put it away, I don't know, a couple days into June. And I'll show you what I have been working on since I put this away. My other whip is, let me grab the chart picture here. It is Penny Spring from Plum Street Samplers. And this was also a new start during Mania earlier in the month. And I stitched on it for 3 days. And this was the project that I decided to pick up and work on, and hopefully it just give me one project to kind of work on for a while with all of the end of school crazy and whatever else was going on. So here is my current progress. And I'm well over half done, I think, or maybe about, I don't know. I gotta fill in most of the borders still, but the border is complete. This is the size it'll be. And I have at least half the house done, probably a little more than that. So, I think this is going to start stitching even faster than it has been for me, now that I have quite a bit of it sort of laid out. And I would like to get this finished in June. I mean, I would like to have a finish on it soon, but by the end of June. I can't say sooner than that, and that will come when we talk about my plans. I am stitching this on 40 count from xjudesigns. It is a monthly neutral sampler neutral club piece, and I don't have my notes right here, so I can't remember what month it came, so I don't have a specific color name for it. And I don't know if you can see it very good in the video. It has a slight pink tone to it, which I think fits this piece really well. And since it's 40 count, that means 1 floss thread over 2 linen threads. And I am using called for colors, except I made one swap, and that is the white in the house. And then you can see in that little quilt block there, and this one here is antique lace from Classic Colorworks, which is the called for the house on Penny Autumn, which if I move here, I'll move this way and you can see my Penny Autumn there. So I thought that just kind of gave it a continuity, and I wanted a little variation in the white of the house because it's such a big block of color. So that's why I swapped that out. So that is my progress on Penny Autumn. Let's try that again. Penny Spring. And as I'm sure you already know, this is in honor of my mom, because anything with Penny, I have to stitch. Okay, I have one major purchase to share with you, although it's multiple purchases to kit it up and put it together, but it's big. If you follow me on Instagram, you saw that I shared in my stories about this because I fell in love with it when Jacob released it last week, I think it was. It's Modern Folk Embroidery AKGIT 1833, a Virlanda sampler, and I hope I pronounced that correctly. And as I said on Instagram, this is the definition of a BAP. Or a BAP. I think everyone calls it a BAP. Do I sound like a dork right now because I called it a BAP? I don't know. I'm very excited about this. When I first saw it, it scared the bejesus out of me because it's so big, but I fell in love with it. And if you haven't watched Jacob's Flosstube, where he talks about this one in particular, because this is based on the antique sampler, he also designed several other versions in varying sizes if you don't want to stitch this large of a project. Now, how long is it going to take me to stitch this? I have no idea, but I'm going to enjoy it while I do it. So I'm really excited. It feels like a big challenge for myself, and I think that, I don't know, adds an element of fun for me too. How big is this? Let's see. Let me find the numbers here. They just were right here. I just looked at them. Okay. It is 409 stitches across, and it is 418 stitches high. And I think, oh yes, he says it has a total of 76,807 crosses. I know I'm crazy right now that I picked this up, but I love it. And I don't know, like I said, I'm really looking forward to the challenge. So because I like it so much, I wanted to get it kitted up. Now I am going to show you a piece of fabric. My piece is only a fat quarter, so I needed to order a fat half. But I may change my mind when it arrives, because I'm not sure about my floss choice on this particular fabric. So my fabric choice is rustic driftwood from xjudesign, and I'm going to stitch mine on 40 count. So I think that made it like roughly 20 and a half by 21. Yes, 20 and a half by 21 inches when I get this done and stitched. Yes, I'm crazy. And my floss choice, which again, if you go watch Jacob's video, and he explains that it's a very dark brown that these are traditionally stitched with, almost a black brown. And I decided if I'm going to do this much stitching, I'm going to use a floss that I love. So I had to order a few skeins of my favorite Classic Colorworks Black Coffee. Now, in the video, this looks like this will be fantastic together, and I think it might, but what I'm probably going to do, like I said, I had to order a fat half of the rustic driftwood. Well, you know, a piece of fabric can't travel by itself, especially when it's coming all the way from Hungary. So I bought it a friend to travel with it. It's another fat half. And it is, if I remember right, I ordered brown paper, which is a little lighter than this. And I also love that color too. So when they get here, I'm going to see which one I like my floss choice on better, because I love black coffee and I think it will be perfection on this stitch. So those are my choices, just waiting for my purchases to arrive. Again, traveling from Hungary, the fabrics, it doesn't take too long usually, surprisingly not too long, to get my fabric order from Jucus. And it's been shipped out, so we'll get it here, and I'll definitely be sharing when I get it started. So that's Modern Folk Embroidery, AKGIT 1833. We covered FFOs and we covered whips. I have no finishes to share, and I have no new starts to share. Well, but you did see a whole big kit coming together. Let's talk about some plans. My biggest plan item that is coming is I am going to be traveling to Wisconsin to Country Sampler for summer stitch camp. Yes. Let's see, Jeff and I are leaving soon. he is going with me, and then he's going to golf while I get to do summer camp or stitch camp. I can never remember exactly what they're calling it. So that I'm really looking forward to. And so I thought I'd show you a couple of the things I have planned for that I'm going to take with me as part of my plans that I'm sharing. So I will probably take Penny Spring with me just in case I feel like working on it. But everything else that I'm going to share with you are on larger count fabrics. So smaller numbers, but they're larger stitches, just because I know it'll be easier to see. And also, for at least one of these projects, there's very little sort of chart counting that I have to do. So, like I said, Penny Spring I'll take with me. Then I already showed you this in my whips, but I'm going to take Bouquet of Sunshine with me because that's on 28 count and easy to see. The other thing next I'm going to take is from A Heart Remembers Blackbird Designs. It is the Wildflower Guide. And if you're interested in sort of my whip progress on these, I showed them in my last video in the whip parade. So, and I haven't worked on them since. So I didn't want to like drag all that out and show it to you again and make you bored. This one, I can't remember what size this is that I'm stitching it on. Yep, 32 count. So again, that's a larger fabric, easier to see. Of course, that one involves some counting, as does Bouquet of Sunshine. Now this last one that I'm taking is Teresa Kogut Star Quilt. Again, this was in the whip parade, so I won't show you my current progress. But once you do a couple of these stars, I mean, you can basically work off of where you've already stitched. And so it's just big blocks of color, just filling it in. And I think that will be a really great project for stitching while I'm there, and because I can still talk and do it and not have to have perfect lighting to see it. And I don't know if I can, but that one is the one I would stitch on in the car if I can stitch in the car. I've tried it a couple of times and it just, I'm not one of those people, I don't know for sure if I can. So like I said, I might try it again. We'll see. It's been a while since I tried stitching in the car. So that's what I'm packing to take with me, those 4 projects. I'm trying really hard because I always take way too much. So I'm trying to keep myself a little more reasonable. Is that a good word? I may end up taking and putting a couple more bags in my to-go tote. We'll just see what I end up deciding on. I have one more thing on, it's a big one for me, on my plans. And actually I made progress on the full finish coming since I talked to you last. And what that is if you remember, I have my cured celebration quilt and I finished the top a while ago. Let's see, that was in April. And it's been in a drawer because I've been scared about finding someone to do the machine quilting for me. Well, that was one of my big goals in June, was just to find someone and get it scheduled up to get the machine quilting done. Well, I found someone who is actually in my area that I didn't really know that this existed. and she's been absolutely wonderfully nice and loved hearing the story behind my quilt, and it's in her possession right now. And if all goes according to schedule, I will have it back in less than 2 weeks, and I will be able to bind it before the end of June. So my original goal was just to find it and get it scheduled to get it machine quilted. And now my goal is to get it fully finished before the end of June. So that's a big, big one that's out there. And hopefully I'm gonna, let's see, did I say 2 weeks? Yeah, less than 2 weeks. And I should have it back. So I'll be able to get the binding done. And oh my gosh, that is going to be a big Flosstube celebration day when I get to share that with you, all done. I'm very excited just to see it quilted up too. So that is on my plans. And I think that covers everything I wanted to share today, because I talked about my FFOs, my two big ones, and I talked about my 2 whips. I talked about getting through the end of the school year. I talked about my big purchase. And as I'm saying big all these times, I think I'm coming up with the title of my video as I'm talking to you. So all my purchases, and then I talked about my plans and the fun that I have coming up in just a couple days of going to Country Sampler again. Oh, and I can't wait to even just be able to shop in there because I love it there. Oh, I wish it was closer. So that wraps it up. And I'm going to start babbling over nothing. So I'm going to cut myself off right now and say thank you so much for sharing your time with me, and I will talk to you soon.